AITA for calling my brother selfish for refusing to split our inheritance with our stepsister. I realized something was wrong the moment my brother slammed the door to our late father's study. The house was silent to silent, the kind of silence that settles only after someone dies, when grief is still dripping through the walls and every sound feels like a violation. I stood in the hallway, stomach tight, listening as my brother's footsteps echoed inside the room. Our childhood home smelled like old books, stale dust, and unresolved grudges. Dad hadn't changed a thing in 20 years. When the door finally opened, Daniel stepped out holding a sealed envelope. His expression was unreadable to calm, to control. That was the first sign. "What did the lawyer say?" I asked. He looked at me for a long moment before answering. "He didn't say anything," Daniel replied. "Dad already did." He held up the envelope. "Everything is in here." My pulse quickened. Inheritance. The word felt ugly in my mouth. Our father had died only a week ago, and now we were dividing whatever pieces of him were left behind. "What about Sophie?" I asked, my voice tight. At that, Daniel's jaw clenched. "She's not part of this. She's our stepsister," I said. "Dad raised her since she was 4. She's not his blood. And what does that matter?" I snapped. "He loved her." Daniel's silence was answer enough. He tore open the envelope, unfolded the letter, and read it quietly. His face hardened with every line. "What does it say?" I asked. He folded the letter slowly, deliberately, almost like he was buying time. "It says everything goes to us," he replied. "Only us." Something was wrong. I felt it instantly. "Let me see." I said. "No." He stepped back. "This is between us, not her." That was the second sign. He walked past me, leaving me alone in the hallway with the heavy, suffocating feeling that something had just gone terribly, invisibly wrong. The letter later that night, long after everyone had gone to bed, I went back into Dad's study. Photos of us lined the walls. Dad with his arm around Daniel. Dad teaching me how to ride a bike. Dad holding Sophie on his shoulders at the zoo. She was always there, in every memory, in every picture. So why would he exclude her? I searched the shelves, until I found the second envelope, the one the lawyer had slipped into his briefcase earlier, and forgotten. My hands trembled as I opened it. And what I read didn't make sense. Dad had left something for Sophie. A bank account. Savings. Enough to help her through college. Maybe buy a small place someday. It wasn't equal to what Daniel and I would receive, but it was something real, something meaningful. And then I saw the handwritten note at the bottom. "Please give Sophie her share. I trust you both to do right by her." There was no doubt. Dad wanted her included. My chest tightened. Daniel had lied. He lied to me. He lied to her. He lied about Dad's final wishes. And suddenly everything made sense. His calmness. His refusal to let me see the letter. The way he had looked at Sophie during the funeral, cold, distant, almost resentful. He wanted everything for himself. I confronted him the next morning. "You lie," I said bluntly. "I saw the real letter. Dad wanted Sophie to have her share." Daniel didn't even flinch. "She doesn't deserve anything. How can you say that?" I demanded. "Dad raised her. She is our family. She stole our father," he spat. "She stole his time, his attention. Ever since Mom died, it's been all about her." My stomach sank. "So this is about jealousy," I said. "After all these years?" He didn't respond. That was the third sign the moment I realized the person I thought I knew had cracks I never saw. "You're selfish," I said quietly, "and cruel." His eyes darkened. "You're weak," he said. "Dad left the house to us, not her, and am not giving a cent away." The breaking point. I tried reasoning with him. I tried explaining. I tried appealing to whatever humanity he had left. Nothing worked. When Sophie came to ask whether Dad had left anything for her, Daniel looked her in the eyes and said, "He didn't mention you." She broke down, and something inside me snapped. That night, I drove to her apartment with the copied documents from the lawyer's envelope. When she saw her name in Dad's handwriting, she cried so hard she couldn't breathe. "He wanted me," she whispered. "He didn't forget me." I hugged her while she trembled in my arms. "He didn't forget you," I said. "Daniel chose to." She lifted her head, eyes filled with something stronger than grief, something like resolve. "Then I have to fight," she said. And she did. She hired a lawyer, filed a claim, presented the real letter, Dad's note, the bank records, everything Daniel tried to hide. And suddenly my brother found himself cornered, exposed, stripped of the control he thought he had. The fallout. He called me in a rage. "You betrayed me." "No," I said calmly. I stopped you from betraying her. You chose her over your own brother. I chose what Dad asked of us. He was silent for so long I thought he hung up. Then he whispered something he'll never forget. You'll regret this. Click. 2 months later, the court awarded Sophie exactly what Dad intended. Equal emotional weight, even if not equal financial value. Enough for her to build a future. But I lost Daniel. He hasn't spoken to me since. He blocked my number. He refused to come to Thanksgiving. He removed me from family photos on social media. To him, I am dead. For a while, silence became the only language between us. Weeks passed, then months, the kind of quiet that doesn't heal. It corrodes. Every holiday, every family gathering, every photo from our distant relatives was the same. Someone asking where Daniel was, and me pretending I didn't feel the question like a blade. Sophie and I grew closer in the way people do when grief binds them. She'd invite me for coffee, ask about work, try to laugh again. But there was always something fragile in her smile. A reminder that she had been unwanted in her own home for years. I thought we were rebuilding, slowly, painfully. I thought things were finally settling. I was wrong. 1. The anonymous email had arrived on a Thursday morning. No subject line. No signature. No greeting. Just 5 words. Your brother hasn't forgiven you. Attached was a photo. Blurry. Taken at night. A car parked in front of my apartment building. Daniel's car. A cold shiver crawled up my spine. I hadn't spoken to him in nearly half a year. Why would he be outside my building? Why wouldn't he knock? Why watch me from the shadows? I called him immediately. It rang once, twice, then straight to voicemail. I tried 3 more times. No answer. The silent ID groan used to suddenly felt dangerous. 2. Sophie's secret. Later that evening, I visited Sophie. She lived in a small apartment near the city center. Cozy, warm, filled with plants she somehow managed to keep alive despite everything she'd been through. She noticed my shaken expression the second I walked in. What happened? She asked. I showed her the email. Her face drained of color. He was here, she whispered. He didn't talk to me, I said. Just watched. Sophie hugged herself, rubbing her arms as if suddenly cold. That's when I noticed the bandage on her wrist. What happened? I asked. She pulled her sleeve down. Nothing. I slipped on my stairs. But her eyes shifted away. A telltale sign she was lying. Sophie. She exhaled shakily. Daniel came to my apartment last week. I felt the blood freeze in my veins. What? He knocked at midnight, she said softly. He looked different. Not angry. Worse. He said the court was unfair. That Dad would have wanted him to be the protector of the family. And that I ruined everything. What did he do? I whispered. He didn't touch me, she said quickly, but he grabbed my phone when I tried to call the police. I fought him for it. That's when I fell. And you didn't tell me. She shook her head. I didn't want to make anything worse. But everything was already worse. Much worse. 3. The will we didn't see the next day. I drove to the lawyer's office. I needed clarity. Answers. Something that resembled sanity. The lawyer, an older man with tired eyes, seemed surprised to see me. You look troubled, he said as we sat. Something happened? Could you check something for me? About my father's documents. He nodded and pulled up the file. I asked him the question that had been haunting me ever since Sophie told me what happened. Did my father leave multiple drafts of the will? The lawyer hesitated. There were 3 versions, he said finally, each one slightly different. I froze. What did the first one say? It left everything to Daniel. And the second? It split things between you and Daniel. And the third? He tapped the folder. That's the one you've seen. The one including Sophie. My mind spun. Why did Dad change his will so many times? The lawyer sighed. Because he didn't trust Daniel. My breaths grew shallow. Your father worried, he continued slowly. He told me Daniel had become possessive, jealous. He didn't want any girl to take the attention he thought he deserved. Not even a child, I whispered. Especially a child, the lawyer said. Your father was afraid Daniel would lash out if he felt replaced. A cold realization fell into place. Dad hadn't written the final will to be fair. He had written it to protect Sophie, perhaps even from Daniel. 4. The night everything cracked that night, there was a knock on Sophie's door. Not a polite one. A hard, frantic, angry pounding. She called me immediately, whispering into the phone. "Hess here." My heart nearly stopped. "Don't open the door," I said. "I'm coming." I drove faster than I ever had in my life. Every red light felt like a taunt. The world outside was a blur until I reached her building. I ran up the stairs, hearing the muffled shouts before I reached the door. Daniel's voice. "You think you deserve our father? You think you deserve his house, his money, his name? You're nothing, nothing." And Sophie crying. "Daniel, please stop." I didn't knock. I kicked the door open. Daniel spun around, eyes wide and hinged, glowing with something feral. He pointed at me, chest heaving. "You're the reason she thinks she belongs here. Step away from her," I said. He took a step toward me instead. "You took everything from me," he hissed. "Dad, the will, our family, my life. You betrayed your own blood for a stray." "Don't talk about her like that," I snapped. But Daniel wasn't listening. "I deserved everything," he growled. "Not her, not you. Me." His hand went inside his jacket. I lunged forward, grabbing his arm before he could pull out whatever he was reaching for. We crashed into the table, sending it flying. Sophie screamed. Daniel swung wildly, hitting me across the face. Stars exploded in my vision. Pain pulsed through my skull. "Stop," Sophie cried. But Daniel didn't stop. He pushed me against the wall, hands shaking with fury. "I want what I'm owed," he roared. "You're owed nothing," I shouted back. And then, a single moment changed everything. Sophie grabbed the heavy glass vase from the counter and swung it hard. It hit the back of Daniel's head with a sickening crack. He went silent. Still, his body crumpled to the floor. 5. The aftermath. We stood there frozen, breathing heavily, staring at the unmoving shape on the carpet. "Sophie," I whispered, "did you?" She shook her head frantically, tears streaming down her face. "He was going to hurt you," she sobbed. "He was going to hurt both of us." I knelt beside him. His chest rose. He was alive. Barely, but alive. I grabbed my phone. "Call an ambulance," I said. But Sophie grabbed my arm, eyes terrified. "If the police come, they'll think I tried to kill him." "No," I said. "It was self-defense." She flinched. "But you saw how angry he was. What if they think I provoked him? What if they think it was about the inheritance? Daniel will lie. Hell twist everything." My throat tightened. She was right. Daniel would destroy her, and maybe me too. 6. So, what did we do? We chose the truth. The real truth, not the twisted, weaponized version Daniel lived by. We called for help. We explained everything exactly as it happened. We faced the investigation. We endured the interviews, the suspicion, the looks. Daniel survived, but he lost the case. He lost the inheritance battle again. He was ordered to attend mandatory therapy and anger management. For violating a restraining order, he faced criminal charges. And slowly, painfully, life began to balance again. 7. But the family is broken. Daniel refuses to speak to either of us. He told relatives I brainwashed Sophie. He told coworkers I conspired to steal everything. He told mutual friends that I destroyed the family. Meanwhile, Sophie's healing, smiling again, strong in ways she never knew she could be. And me? I'm left wondering, did I save my family, or tear it apart forever? And was calling my brother selfish the first crack, or the truth he could never bear to hear? Daniel's trial lasted for months. For long, exhausting, bone-deep months of legal battles, psychological evaluations, character witnesses, and the slow, painful dissection of everything our family ever was. Every session felt like reliving the same nightmare. Daniel glaring at us with the kind of hatred that makes your skin crawl. Sophie trembling but determined. Me trying to stay calm while feeling like my brother's eyes were drilling holes into me. When the verdict finally came, a cocktail of probation, mandated therapy, restricted contact, and fines, the courtroom felt hollow. No cheers, no triumph, just the quiet realization that nothing would ever be the same. 1. The storm before the calm. 3 weeks after the sentence, Daniel requested a final meeting. The idea terrified Sophie. It terrified me too, but the mediator insisted it could provide closure, whatever that means when your family is in ruins. We agreed to meet in a neutral space, Dad's old house, the place where it all began and, maybe, where it needed to end. The storm outside was brutal that night, rain slamming the windows, lightning slicing through the dark sky. In a strange way, it felt fitting. Sophie sat on the couch, hands clasped tightly. I stood by the mantel, staring at a framed photo of us as kids. Daniel arrived soaked from the rain. He didn't take off his coat, didn't sit, didn't even blink properly. He just looked at us, not with hatred, not anymore. Something worse, something empty. 2. The conversation we never wanted. Daniel took a slow breath. So, he said, "This is where we're at." His voice was rough, like someone who had screamed too much and slept too little. "You two win," he added quietly. "Is that what you want to hear?" Sophie shook her head immediately. "This was never a competition. Then why does it feel like one?" he asked. He looked at me. "You ruined my life." "No," I said calmly, though my hands were shaking. "You ruined your own life when you tried to hurt her." For a moment, I thought he might snap, but instead, he laughed. A tired, broken sound. "You know what's funny?" he said. "Dad used to say you were the good one, the calm one, the sensible one, and I always hated that, because I thought I deserved to be the favorite." He stepped closer, and then Sophie came, and suddenly Dad didn't look at me the same, not because she was better, but because she needed him. He swallowed hard, and I never learned how to share him. Sophie whispered, "Daniel, Dad loved you." "Not enough," he replied. "Never enough." And then he did something none of us expected. He sat down, put his head in his hands, and began to cry, not quietly, not controlled, but openly, raw, and terrifyingly honest, like a man whose armor had finally shattered. 3. The words that changed everything. When he finally lifted his head, his voice was hoarse. "I'll never forgive you," he told me. "Not fully. Maybe not ever." I opened my mouth, but he held up a hand. "But," he continued, "I understand now that what I did, all of it wasn't about the money, or the will, or Sophie." He looked at her. "It was about losing Dad. And I blamed you. And I blamed her. And I blamed everyone but the one person who left." We stayed silent. There was nothing to say. "I'm leaving," he said suddenly. "Not forever, but for a while. I need space. A new town, new people, a chance to not be this." He gestured to himself, a broken man wrapped in soaked clothes and bitterness. "Sophie," he said, voice softening, "I'm sorry. Not for hitting you. I didn't, but for terrifying you, for making you feel unsafe in the house that was supposed to protect you." A single tear slid down her cheek. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded. Then he turned to me. "You did the right thing," he said, calling me selfish, siding with her, protecting her. His throat tightened. "It just felt like betrayal." "It wasn't," I said. "It was love. The kind that doesn't look pretty." Daniel gave a faint, exhausted smile. "Yet," he murmured, "I see that now." 4. The goodbye. He walked through the house slowly, touching the furniture, the walls, the pictures, saying his own private goodbye. At the door, he paused. "Tell Dad I'm trying," he whispered. Then he stepped into the storm. We watched his car disappear into the night, swallowed by rain and darkness. Part of me wondered if it was the last time I'd ever see him. Part of me hoped it wasn't. Part of me feared it was. 5. Months later, life didn't magically fix itself. Families don't snap back like elastic bands. But slowly, things grew manageable. Sophie got into a good university program. I started therapy. Daniel sent a postcard once, no return address. It said, "I'm alive. I'm learning. I'm sorry. Tell her she was worth fighting for." On the back was a picture of a lighthouse. Strong, lonely, still standing. Final line: "So AITA for calling my brother selfish, no. But maybe, just maybe, that was the moment he finally started becoming someone better." Sometimes the truth breaks families. Sometimes it saves them. And sometimes it does both.